Alright, let's dive into a story that proves sometimes the fastest way isn't the safest. Tonight, we're heading deep into the Ozarks, a place where the shadows stretch long and the cell service dies fast. This is the terrifying account of a man named Mike and the worst GPS shortcut imaginable. Mike was on a long haul, driving through the night. 3 hours in, the isolation was thick enough to chew on, and then he hit the fog. Not just regular mist, but a dense, swirling gray velvet that swallowed his headlights whole. For 3 hours, his GPS, a standard, slightly irritating female digital voice, had been his only companion. Then, the voice spoke. In 400 feet, turn left. Mike squinted. He slowed the car almost to a stop. Turn left. There was no road, just a rough, narrow, deeply overgrown logging trail that looked like it hadn't seen a truck tire in a decade. Anyone who knows the Ozarks knows you don't take unpaved, unmarked roads after dark. It's just common sense. He was about to tell the GPS to recalculate when the voice spoke again, and Mike's blood turned instantly, irrevocably cold. The voice had changed. It lost that tinny, digital flatness. It became warm, familiar, and terribly, terribly human. It sounded exactly like his sister, Sarah. Sarah had passed away 3 years earlier in a terrible car accident. Take the turn, Mike, the voice whispered, low and intimate, right through the car speakers. I'm waiting. Mike gripped the steering wheel so hard his knuckles went white. This wasn't some glitch. This was a violation. A primal fear seized him. He fumbled for his phone, trying to pull up the navigation app to force a reset, but the screen was frozen solid, and it wasn't displaying the map of the highway anymore. It was displaying a satellite image of a cemetery. Mike recognized it instantly. It was the small, forgotten cemetery deep in the mountains where he and his family had buried Sarah back in 2021. The pin on the map, the red destination marker, was centered right over Sarah's headstone. Despite the chilling plea of the voice, Mike refused to turn onto that muddy, dark path. He pressed the accelerator, determined to keep moving straight on the highway, praying he'd drive out of the fog and this nightmare. That's when the voice stopped whispering. The calm, sweet tone of Sarah evaporated, replaced by something ancient and enraged. The speakers in Mike's car exploded in a horrific, guttural screeching. It was distorted, animalistic, and utterly terrifying. The noise shook the dashboard, vibrated the glass, and hammered into Mike's ears. Turn around, turn around, turn around, it shrieked, the words tearing apart the silence of the night. Mike just drove faster, hands shaking violently, eyes wide and fixed on the hazy road ahead. He was only dimly aware that he was crying now, the sound of that monstrous voice overwhelming every other sense. Then, just as abruptly as it started, the screaming stopped. A profound silence fell, a silence heavier and scarier than the noise had been. Mike's heart hammered against his ribs. He squinted through the rapidly clearing fog. His headlights, finally punching through the mist, hit something on the road ahead. He slammed on the brakes. The tires squealed, fighting the damp asphalt, bringing the vehicle to a bone-jarring halt mere inches from whatever was standing there. It was a woman. She was standing still, right in the middle of the empty road, facing away from him. And as his headlights illuminated her clearly, Mike felt the last shred of his sanity slip away. She was wearing that dress, the light blue cotton dress, slightly faded at the hem, that Sarah had been buried in. Mike would know that dress anywhere. He'd helped pick it out. He sat there, paralyzed, unable to breathe, staring at the familiar fabric stretched over an unfamiliar, silent body. Then, slowly, she began to move, but she didn't turn her body. Oh no, she just turned her head. It rotated slowly, sickeningly, through a full 180 degrees, until she was staring directly at him, her body still facing the opposite direction. And where Sarah's face should have been, there was nothing, just a blank, featureless slab of slick, pale skin. No eyes, no nose, no mouth, just smooth, terrible emptiness. That was the breaking point. Mike didn't hesitate. He jammed the shifter into reverse, didn't look back, and floored the pedal. He kept reversing for what felt like an eternity, engine screaming, until he was sure he was miles away from that spot. He drove until he finally hit the bright, harsh lights of a 24-hour gas station about 20 miles back. He pulled into the lot, engine running, and finally allowed himself to collapse forward over the steering wheel, sobbing in sheer terror and relief. When he finally managed to sit up, trembling, he grabbed his phone. The GPS was working perfectly now, displaying the normal navigation screen, showing his current location. The screaming was gone. The cemetery map was gone. Mike checked the history. It was completely empty. No route, no destination. It was as if the last hour had never happened. But then, he noticed a new notification, a single text message. It had been sent to himself, from his own number, at exactly 3:15 a.m. the moment he was screeching into reverse. The message read, "Almost had you. Mike never took a shortcut again." And he deleted every single navigation app from his phone. If you've ever had a close call with the paranormal, let me know your story in the comments below. Be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to The Shocking Endeavors for more true scary stories that will keep you awake at night. Thanks for watching.